Well, hey guys, welcome to My Theory Academia. That's right, we're doing a theory today about My Hero Academia. You guys might be wondering why I'm calling this My Theory Academia, just because of the fact that I enjoy My Hero Academia, and I thought, hey, why not just put a theory in there and enjoy it? Yep, that's exactly why it's called My Theory Academia. At some point in time, there will be some sort of intro, cut off somewhere around here, and go into it, but we're just going to go straight into theory itself. Now, the theory that we're going through today is actually about One For All and the true secret behind One For All. And the first thing we actually do have to get into is the origin of One For All itself. Now, One For All was created between two brothers who were at ends with each other. One was a villain, one was pretty much a non-existent person, blah blah blah, because he didn't have a quirk. So he was kind of a hero type person. But what ends up happening is he's quirkless, blah blah blah, and the brother ends up, who has All For One, giving him a quirk called Stockpile. Stockpile ends up infusing with the quirk he already had. The quirk passing down the ability of his quirk, pretty much what it comes down to. But what they don't really go into is how this quirk ineffectively worked. Now, I think that's the biggest secret about One For All in general. The first original quirk before the fusion into One For All coming into effect. Now, why do I think that this passed down quirk has anything to do with One For All in the first place, when the stockpile ability obviously has the power and everything to do with One For All in general, because every single predecessor of One For All ends up using the stockpile quirk. Well, the reason is because of how Midori is using this quirk in general. Now, there is a difference between almights, normal form, right here. Well, sorry, one side. Right about here, guys. All Might's original form is skinny. It's down, packed, and that's after being injured pretty bad. And he ends up slimming down pretty instantaneously. But then he ends up transforming into that. He does this pretty constantly, and this is kind of a thing that's going on when it really comes down to it. Now, One For All has the ability to bring out the stockpile ability and to be able to use it to its fullest. Now, the biggest thing about that is the fact that this transformation right here is caused by the stockpile ability itself. The reason why this ends up happening is because this form right here is actually the form that he was in his prime. This is kind of like, if you guys have ever watched Yu Yu Hakusho, how the spirit wave worked, it brings them back into their prime, where they were in their prime, how they looked in their prime. This is what the stockpile ability does. It brings you back into your prime form because you have the power at one point in time, so your body automatically fills out into that prime form. So so even if he looks like this, he'll become this. Now, why is this different from how Midori is? Well, the thing when it comes down to Midori is the fact that Midori is just started out to use One For All in the first place. So he ends up looking like this in the first place. Now, Midori looking like that is kind of how it works. He's not going to transform down or transform into a big bulky guy. Instead, he's going to start using the One For All in more of an electrical type of way, as he's building up his strength and being able to use more and more of its power. This is also a form of the stockpile ability. The ability to increase your strength to the maximum strength that it already has acquired. But since he's never been into that physical prospect yet, he hasn't been into his prime form, he's not going to transform into a buff dude. But the biggest thing about this is Midori is training in a completely different aspect than what All Might or anybody else has done, because any of the predecessors were actually trained into the ability itself. They were able to take on the form without a problem because they were being trained pretty much most of their lives to do so. Now, there's a big thing about this when it comes down. You guys will probably be like, oh, it's just a way to show that Midoriya is going into this form. But it doesn't make any sense why this animation is so prominent in the first place. Now, my theory is that there is something more in depth when it comes down to Midoriya using One For All than All Might. He's training, because of how they're training, it becomes completely off-centered. Midoriya has to use a different form of One For All to be able to adapt, to make an adaptability into this situation. Now, for those that haven't read into the manga yet, it doesn't really state too much more about One For All in general, but All Might does say a few things when it really comes down to it. All Might does not know exactly how to train Midoriya because he never went through the same situations as Midoriya is going through. He never had to build up to that point because he was already trained to that point when he got the power. Now, the biggest thing about Midoriya is, though, because All Might hasn't seen this, and he actually has said this in this season itself of the anime, for everybody that's been watching anime but not reading the manga, he sees these. Ghosts of the past, of all the predecessors of One For All. This is during the festival, during the time that he's trying to push his limits even further. But this is during the time where his mind is under somebody else's control. Midoriya has unlocked a part of One For All none of the other predecessors have actually ever used, and that is the pass down abilities form of it. You guys gotta remember that One For All is 2 quirks, not 1. The 1 quirk that they use the most is the stockpile quirk. The second quirk has always been used as a secondary quirk to pass it down. But what if the secondary quirk also had an ability built into it, not just to pass down the useless quirk, but to pass down knowledge and logic of a person, pretty much passing on their essence into the next person, kind of like giving them information that they would not normally have. Now, how would Midoriya be able to accurately depict the people that used to have One For All in general through these shadows? He's never seen them. He doesn't really know anything about the predecessors at all. He hasn't really learned much about them at this point in time. But as of episode 4, season 3, through the animation, which we don't really get to see really much of that animation, the animators are kind of hinting at this even more so than before, with Midoriya's 1,000,000% One For All. Now, the biggest thing about that is we get this, yes, it's right in the middle of my face, we get this right here. This is the shine of One For All in general. H dot that shows up represents another person on the scale, another one of these guys, making it, putting the power of One For All into its full effect. It is a stockpile ability, yes, and it combined with the stockpile and the pass down ability makes it even more likely that this could be the biggest secret of One For All in general, and that is the pass down ability passes down not just the knowledge or the aspectual situations of the ability if used trained in a different way, but also passes down each and every one of their individual max powers. Now, Midoriya's only been using All Might's full power at 100%. Now, All Might has used his predecessors max power to 100% and then built upon it, stockpiling it as time went on. Now, you would have to say that All Might has the 100% of everyone in the of the predecessors, but that is not true. All Might has the abilities of has the strength of everyone stockpiled up and on top of his. Now, let's say this was a bar graph, it would come slightly up, and I didn't get a picture of the bar graph, otherwise I'd put it up, but it would come slightly up as time went on with the stockpiling getting stronger and stronger. Now, we would take the last bar of that stockpile being All Might, and the rest of the bar from what Midoriya just did right there, and take them all and stack them upon each other, making it even more powerful. That all the strength of every one of the predecessors combined into one situation, the true form of the stockpile ability, which Midori is actually tapping into because of the pass down ability given to him. Now, why would I think that the pass down ability is the biggest prospect that Midori's taking that from? Because of how Midori's been, what's been going on in the anime, what's been going on in the manga, and how these things have kind of combined into one another. Now, for those, which if you guys don't want to hear the spoiler here, I suggest close your ears for a second. But the thing is that in the latest chapter of My Hero Academia, we see Midori hit his 100%. We see him being able to use it without any would be able to use it, but it breaks his bones a lot. It blows up his bones. It does a lot of things. But since he has a different quirk, this other person using it, their other quirk, it's not affecting him. But it's completely different from the 100% we see in the anime or anime right now. It's completely set to side and completely works different than the 1,000,000% one for all that Midori uses in episode 4 season 3. So if I haven't lost you guys yet or anything like that, the biggest point of this theory is that the pass down ability is the key to unleashing the full power of One For All, and I believe that Midori is the one that's going to unlock that potential, and this is why he will become the greatest hero later on, where he's going to become number one out of all the heroes because of that ability, because of the ability to take the pass on ability and use it to its full extent. The one ability he can use to its full extent without a problem. While the stacking ability will be in training form. So, do you guys agree with this theory? Do you guys understand the theory? Did I lose you guys somewhere in the midst of my theory? I feel I have, because I talk fast and I'm not that interesting. But if you guys have followed along to this point, tell me what your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you guys think this theory could be possible? And you like my live pop-ups, because I really don't want to do much editing. Anyways, until the next time, you guys, I hope you guys have a great day and a fun one as well.